The Mexican show. We are live, and we're gonna do a Veterans Day edition today because tomorrow is Veterans Day. We have John Lockard with us today, another veteran. We have 2.5 veterans with us today.
Is that a Navy joke?
No, I'm not a whole man anymore. So, but yeah, we have 3 veterans with us, and we'll see where it goes. We're gonna, I don't know, maybe we'll talk about PTSD or what Veterans Day means to you, and
Yeah.
friends and family, how they're dealing with things, and maybe share a perspective with you that you might not be familiar with.
As a veteran, you're obviously a business owner as well too, and a lot of veterans don't know this, but when you're in Washington State, you actually get free business licenses regarding being a veteran. Did you know that?
I still pay.
Oh, yeah. But speaking of business, though, you have Beery Construction. How's that going?
I just did a roofing bid. She's like, when can you start? I go, when it's not raining in the forecast. Well, what does that mean? Like, you look the next 10 days, like it's going to rain like 3 times. So,
You said you had a remodel coming up too, right?
yeah, we start that tomorrow. Got windows, flooring, kitchen, bathroom, whole 9 yards. So,
Yeah. And then obviously Rick's is closed today, so I don't have any specials to share with you folks.
it'll be open this afternoon because there's the pool league.
Oh,
We open at 5 o'clock.
okay.
But yeah, if you want to come down and hang out, you can. But nothing fancy, just the pool players.
And the cool thing is we actually had them on the show last week. Was it Wednesday, Thursday?
Yeah, they're good. They'll take your money.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to learn, come on down.
And also for those listening, if you need your vehicle fixed, Brothers Automotive, 7619744. Cheapest, most affordable auto repair in Moses Lake area and surrounding. One of my favorite things about Brothers Automotive is that more times where they can come pick up your vehicle at work or at home, finish the repair and drop it back off. I know Rick has taken advantage of that many times and it's been satisfied every time.
I'm a busy man. I didn't like drop it off. Like, I'll come get it. Great.
Donnie, do you personally make sure he's satisfied, or
No, I'm sorry. Carrie did I handle that for him.
He delegates it out.
Delegated. But yeah, no job too small, no job too big. Brothers Automotive, from brakes to suspension to engine swaps, you name it, they can do it. Again, 7619744. Call Brothers Automotive today for all your automotive needs.
Yes, sir. Well, I'd like to jump into Veterans Day. I'll just start off by sharing, I guess, what it means to me. And it means more to me because of my father than me personally. So my father was a World War II vet. My grandfather was in the cavalry in World War One. My dad was in the Navy in World War II. And growing up, it was like he didn't really need Veterans Day. It's like just another day. My dad worked all the time. He's a workaholic, and that's probably where I get that trait from, being a workaholic. But as he got older in his 80s, like it was something that like got him out of the house. He'd get up and get dressed. He's like, "Wow, it's Veterans Day. I'm gonna get a free meal. I'm gonna get something out of this." And he got excited, and it meant more to him later on in life, and he enjoyed that a lot. But it truly, you know, anyway, it meant something to him. Like Veterans Day to me, I'm like, I'm busy, I'm young, I'm doing my thing. But I know there's soldiers out there that are having a tough time, and a little appreciation sometimes helps them, you know, feel appreciated or get over. It distracts them from some of the mental health things that they're going through. So we have John Lockard on the show today. He was in the Army Infantry. Do you have any perspectives on Veterans Day?
yeah, definitely. I think I could resonate with your father pretty well. Since my time in service, I've kind of just gone about my life. I got out of the military and I started working and worked for my dad for a while, started a business, and just kind of carried on with life. And I I've been pretty blessed that despite my experiences, I haven't really struggled too much with any of your common veteran-esque struggles out there. I came home to a very, very strong support system, and I think that was pivotal for me. So when it comes to Veterans Day, it does kind of feel just like another day, other than the fact that I often get invited to things like this or to elementary schools to speak or whatnot. And so I've kind of always just looked at it as another day. Usually my wife will cook whatever I want for dinner that night, it's something special, but it's really just something that's personal to me, and I don't go above and beyond really in celebrating it or necessarily, it just feels like a time in my life that was normal. It was my lived experience, my normal experience. It doesn't seem exceptional to me.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think many of us that have served in the military were like, that was our job. That's what we did.
absolutely.
Some people did amazing things. Some of us did average things. Some of us, there's a whole spectrum of what you gave. And uh, I think we all have the opportunity to give a little something, but yeah, I don't sit there and go, man, I want to be celebrated. Um, I do feel I'm better with it now, but people used to, oh, thank you for your service. And I was like, uh, I feel really awkward when people thank me for my service because I was like, just another day in the adventure of life. And there was an older gentleman that somebody's like, thank you for your service. And he goes, my pleasure. And I was like, that is a great answer. I'm going to copy that because I don't know what to say. And so that's what I do. So if you catch me and say, thank you for your service, I'll be like, my pleasure. Because like, that's my go-to now because I was feeling awkward about that. Have you had any issues or concerns about people thanking you for your service?
No issues or concerns. It's a total normal thing. It's expected for me. It's happened since, the time I joined. I joined in 2005 in the middle of Iraq and the middle of Afghanistan wars when they were at their hottest. And anytime I'd go anywhere, come home, I was always getting that. So it's become a pretty normal thing for me. Although years now later, I don't really I don't wear the veteran hats and the t-shirts and grunt style mafia apparel or anything like that. So other than maybe my beard and this bracelet I wear on my wrist, you probably can't tell that I'm a veteran. But no, I don't have any issue with that. I think the way you said it, what was it? My pleasure. I think that
Yeah.
that's a great, resounding, simple answer. I've often just said you're welcome. Thank you for acknowledging it. But pretty simple to me. So
Yeah.
When I got out to before you guys, I believe it was Sandpoint in Seattle. And the night before I was EAOS the next morning. So the night before, and I did it before dinner for some reason. I cut my hair, shaved it underneath, and all this. And someone saw me and said, "Hey, you're not out till tomorrow." They made me go to the barber right then and shave my head. And so when I actually got out, that was one thing I liked the most. That I could pick my haircut. I had mohawks and I had you name it, just because I could. Right? Do you guys have any experience like that when you got out?
yeah, on the day I got out, I said, I'm not shaving my face anymore, and I'm proud to say it's been 2011 when I got out. So what is that, 15 years or so? I've only shaved my face one time, and that was my cousin was in the Marine Corps, he passed away, and I wore my dress uniform to his memorial, and I shaved my face for that. And other than that, I've had a beard every waking day of my life
It's
since.
crazy. I actually met you in 2011, and you had a shaved face back then. I have a picture of it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Maybe you met me within a few weeks of getting out then.
Yeah,
Because
Yeah.
I definitely kept it like a 5 o'clock shadow
yeah,
for a while, but now it's like a full beard. So.
yeah. I'm against beards.
I have the same haircut I had in the military. Yeah, so I'm balding, so I just buzzed it. All I do is buzz it. But yeah, I do. I hated shaving, so I always kind of like a little goatee. And in the construction industry I do now, it's like no big deal. It's kind of expected. So
Yeah.
that definitely helps. Yeah, it is nice not to have to ask permission to go on vacation and things.
Yeah.
All the paperwork, I hated paperwork. Oh man. Everything was like, get permission, had to go through every step of the way just to go on a vacation or,
Yeah. I was stationed at NAS ADAC Alaska, and I was one of the guys who made the decision if people left the island. And it was interesting the power that I had. I didn't realize it. We were shooting pool at a bar there on the base. This guy was mouthing off to me and just, started to, things got escalated, and he goes, "Where do you work?" "I work at Pat Kelly, your terminal." He goes, "I am so sorry. Let me buy you a beer." I'm like, "Well, I don't drink." He's like, "You want something to eat on me?" I'm like, what is this guy doing? And I didn't realize till later that if you worked in the mess hall or on the airport, at the airport, like you were like really held in high regard. And I only abused it once because one guy was a jerk to somebody, kept being a jerk, and I kept not approving his leave to leave the island. And finally, after his second attempt, when I told him no, he says, "Is it going to be like this forever?" I said, "Are you going to be a jerk forever?" And I saw the light bulb, and he started being nicer to people. And I approved him every time after that.
Donnie fielding his power stick. Oh man.
When he had to submit that paperwork every week, and I was the guy who was like, "This guy's a jerk. I got to teach him a lesson."
Yeah, yeah. Oh, if you want to get in trouble, yeah, the military is a good place to, get in trouble.
I've always told people you get out of it what you put into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Uh, since I was older, I had like some unique opportunities. I was able to easily walk into places that my leadership couldn't get into. So I could walk into my uh, the captain's office and just come in, sit down, and we'd start talking. And my sergeants above me, they couldn't walk in there and do that. They get mad at me like, "We can't just walk in there." But we would talk, and I think maybe because I was older, they I don't know appreciated the little bit of wisdom I had. But I had a unique a skill set where I could analyze people by the way they write. It's called graphology, and it's something I picked up along the way of life. And so I'm like, I joined at 35. 34. I turned 35 in basic. I barely, even made it into the
Yeah,
military.
34 was a cutoff when I was in.
But I could go in there, and they would be like, once they learned I could do this weird thing, they'd be like, "Hey, we got this private, and he got in trouble, so we made him write an essay." That's one of the punishments they give you. This ridiculous stuff, and so they'd hand it to me, and I'd read it, and I'd be like, "Okay, this soldier's dealing with this. He's got that." Whatever. They kind of laugh and kind of thought it was entertaining. Um, Months later, they're like, "Hey, Rick, get in here. I want to show you something." And so they hand me a sticky notepad with some writing on it. "Tell me about this person." And I said, "This person, is this, that, whatever." But I'm like, "They have a health issue in the pelvic region." They go, "I don't know if it's a hip or what, but like somewhere in the pelvic region, they got a serious health issue." And it's in your writing. Like your subconscious brain is amazing. Like 2 weeks later, they're like, "Rick, get in here." And I'm like, "Yes, sir," or whatever. And he's like, "How did you know?" I was like, "No, what?" He's like, "That writing was First Sergeant so and so, and she's in hospital getting surgery, on some lady parts." So like, "How did you know she had a health issue there?" I was like, it's just this thing I can do. I spent time learning it, and the subconscious mind, when you write, tells you about the person. So all through the military, people would come to me, especially when it's the hurry up and wait. We'd be sitting around. They would line up, and they'd be like, they'd write stuff and be like, "Rick, tell me about myself." And I'd be like, "Hey, you got a porn issue. You have a double standard for women." Da, 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 da. And he's like, "I'm on my fourth marriage, and I keep cheating." And I'm like, "Well, hello," And it was amazing how open they were. Like I would be embarrassed, to have some of these things just blurted out. I'd be like, "Hey," it's to the point I would tell them what percent gay they were. "You're 30% gay," and I know you can take it however you want, but who you are is kind of unique, and I don't know if it embarrassed some leaders or what, but it was an entertaining thing I could do. It wasn't my job in the military, but people thought I was like CID or I could do weird stuff. I'm like, I'm just older. I've just lived life, you know, before I came in. So it was kind of fascinating to see. But I had a lot of soldiers that I knew that they had been abused. They didn't know I knew until later, um, but anyway, I could go on and on about this. But and so I could talk to them and try to give them some perspective to help them get through that because a lot of women in the military have a police military women that pursue those. There's a high probability there's abuse in their background. Not to throw anyone under the bus, but you can start putting things together, and I didn't really pay attention to that until I was looking at handwriting all the time. I was like, why does every woman I look at have like abuse traits? And so it kind of allowed me to talk to some people and help them out through some hard times because, like, if I could corner them and catch them in it, they'd be like, "How do you know that? I've never told anyone." It's just kind of unique, but it was an interesting side experience that
I had to turn off your Facebook on here because someone kept messaging you. If you heard that in the background.
Sounds like you should have worked in human intelligence.
Maybe, but I think it's more like a CIA thing. But yeah, it's called graphology. It's people the way they write, and it's a fairly simple thing. I would say it's easier than learning another language, but it's still like until um, uh, in the infantry, did you guys ever do? They don't really teach tracking anymore. You're taught a certain skill set, and sometimes because you don't know how to read. In tracking, we read like footprints and stuff, and it's like until you know and been taught that, you just have no idea
That it exists.
It's outside your peripheral of reality that exists. So it's a weird kind of thing.
I can definitely relate. I did have an experience in the military when I was at Fort Bragg. We did some training with I don't know if they were Philippine or Taiwanese guys, and I remember distinctly like being able to look at like the edge line of a tree line or a forest and seeing where somebody entered their path through the woods.
Mm-hmm.
They could see like the shape of the leaves, the branches, like all that type of stuff. Definitely probably couldn't do it now. That was a long time ago, but definitely kind of understand what you're talking about there.
Yeah, I was taught by. None of this was like military. Like I'd find like side opportunities to be taught. So Kevin Reed, he passed away, but he used to teach, the special ops how to track and do the footprints. Now we have drones, and the drones are phenomenal. They can just fly over again and remap and, high definition. They'd be like, oh, there's a new set of footprints this way. Let's go check it out. But yeah, if, you could watch, the tree line, see how the birds are moving, and be like, okay, they lost the trail, um, but he was kind of Apache Indian based, but it was kind of neat. And if we ever played the Army hide and go seek, I always won those. They could never find me. I was always proud of that. But I was like, I do have some training outside the military that like helped me with that. Or when other people were hiding, like I was able to follow their trail, and they were like, how? And all the hunters think they're amazing, but tracking people is different because the animals are like instinct, but humans that know, they can counter track. So these hunters would be like, "Oh, we'll get you," and I'd leave false prints, and they go run off this and there, and I could get upset. But it's there's training everywhere. There's opportunities to learn so much. I noticed a lot in the military. A lot of guys had like these secret talents, but they would never like let anyone know that they were talented in these areas because you're voluntold to do a lot of things. And they're like, I'm just a soldier. That's all you got to know. But then you find out they're like computer programming in their barracks and they're doing this and that. It's like.
Yep.
There's a lot of talented people in the military that are just like hiding under a rock.
Absolutely. I had a friend that I was deployed with. His name was Matt, and he was a General Motors like master certified mechanic, whatever, right? But he joined the infantry later on in life. I think he was about 33, 34 when we were in Iraq together. But there was multiple times that our wheeled vehicle mechanics were having issues with like Humvees or something, and Matt would just solve problems and do their job for him, because he just there's something about him. It was a hidden skill that he had.
Yeah.
And all the while he's just a saw gunner on a infantry fire team,
So I had to carry this saw every day. So you've deployed twice?
Once. Yep. In 2006, October 2006.
2006. And that was Iraq?
Iraq, yep. I went to outside of Balad, Iraq. Our FOB was called FOB Palawota. PFOB is in the Jabori Peninsula of the Tigris River region. So south of Samora, west of Balad.
So I was in Al Assad, and I was up towards the Syrian border. We were next to the Euphrates Tigris rivers were running by there, and there's a little, like, I don't know, the river would make this thing, and they called it the nutsack. And ISIS would always float across the river and launch mortars, and then they'd run back and hide or do whatever they did. That was I loved Iraq. I was fortunate that it was 10 of us that went in there, and then there was 300 Marines, and it was in Al Assad. They gave the base to the Iraqi army, and then that was the only spot where they were fighting back, and so they brought in 300 Marines, and then they were only allowed 300 boots on the ground. So they brought us in, they brought me there through like TDY, like go to school and get trained. So there are 10 of us that went in there to work with them. And I loved it because it was the Wild West. Like there was no paperwork, which I hate paperwork, folks. You didn't have to sign for any equipment. Like it was just crazy. And I just felt like I thrived there. I was like, we're finally working. No one cared if you didn't shave that day. Like you're just like working. And the Marines were like really fun to work with. And we were setting up for the 82nd to come in. And finally an 82nd first sergeant came in, and the dynamic changed because he was like, no more bonfires at night.
82nd's tight.
Yeah,
keep a tight ship.
There's a tight ship, and like no more bonfires. But the Marines kept lighting bonfires every night. He couldn't stop them. He could stop us Army guys because we're just a bunch of privates and sergeants running around. But the Marines were like so much fun. They work hard, play hard. The Army was like, you work hard, but then like don't play too hard because you could get hurt. But it's super fun. I loved it. It was just the Wild West. It was a great time. And then I got injured there, and I took a hard fall and broke my back. And for like 10 days, I'm like hobbling around, and you're still working, but sciatic nerve and all that. I broke the linkage in my spine, so both my hips and like my spine slipped out, like
below your fifth lumbar.
S1L5, yeah. So it slipped out like 3/4 of an inch or something. So I'm like hobbling around, and then we had some weird ambush. There's like some 8 suicide bombers and whatever. We were getting bombed. We all had to go to the bunker and mess around or whatever for a while. And then that night, they flew us out. And I remember, so I go back to Airborne in Kuwait, and I remember going to get breakfast the next morning, and I'm watching the news, and it's talking about this big event that happened in Iraq. I'm watching it, and I was like, okay, I was there for that. But it's really weird how the information's not the same.
Yeah.
I was like, that's not exactly what happened. Like I know the military is very tight about what's released to the news.
OPSEC.
The OPSEC, yeah. I was like, that's not exactly what happened. And of course, there's no mention of us because we were supposed to be there. And then later I go get an MRI anyway. And so the doctor's like, hey, you broke your back. I'm thinking, I'm getting a free ride back to the States. I'm like, I'm getting out of here. and they're like, "Well, you can walk. You got like 3 months left on your tour. Why don't you finish your tour, and then we'll medically discharge you?" And I was like, "What?" But it was fine. I was still kind of obnoxious about stuff because um, my fitness was pretty good. So like uh, I was still like they were like gave me some dead man profile, but I'd keep running and I keep doing stuff as it kind of. So some people liked it, some leaders didn't. But I was just I'm kind of a funny guy. So um, any I guess you were in 2006. You're in Iraq.
Yep.
So any standout moments there for you?
Yeah, a couple. I mean, we've had a pretty high op tempo for what our company was doing. Early on in our deployment, we realized that vehicles get blown up. This was at the advent of IEDs were becoming very, very popular for the insurgency to use, and then they were using I forget the name of it. These copper disc IEDs that would penetrate through armor, EFBs. There you go. And so several months into our deployment, we realized that flying in Blackhawks and Chinooks was a much better approach. So we just started doing a lot of air assault missions. I think my company conducted over 250 combat missions, searching out high value targets, um, capture or kill missions, intelligence gathering missions, movement to contact missions, small kill teams. I primarily operated on SKTs, small kill teams, which, our company size element would go out into sector. A team of 4 to 5 would get left behind, and then the whole company would exfil, and we'd stay out there for 2 or 3 days observing, especially in areas where there was known insurgents activity, where they would put IEDs in and stuff like that. And so there's plenty of opportunities for good gunfights that we got into. Our company was responsible for capturing or killing over 600 insurgents in the time that we were there. A really pivotal moment for me. Well, I have 2 Purple Hearts that I got on that deployment. So those are obviously pivotal moments, but one that probably stands out to me most was on one of my first times out in sector. We had some of the Iraqi army with us, and they had taken some, I guess, like an RPG had hit a vehicle, and this major that was with the Iraqi army had essentially lost both of his lower limbs, and I was tasked with helping the medic carry the skid code to the 113 track, and that was kind of really eye-opening for me in that moment, just a few weeks into the deployment there in Iraq, and it went from being like the movies and whatnot to being real life, and then come February, another real pivotal moment for me. We deployed in October, and then in February, we were at an Iraqi army compound doing some training with them. We got intel from our intelligence services and from local assets that some AQIZ guys were putting in some IEDs to hit on our exfil back to our fob the next day. And so we load up in our vehicles. It's about 11 p.m. We roll down this road, and I'm in the first track in the back of a Bradley fighting vehicle, and our vehicle just gets massively hit from the underside. They drilled under went under the road with 155 shells, blew us up with a remote det from underneath, and I was kind of partially knocked out. I had hit my head. I mean, you have your Kevlar on and stuff, but still, you get that kind of an explosion. It messes you up, and the whole back end of our vehicle caught on fire, and so we had lowered ramp to try to get out of the vehicle, because when you get hit by an ID, you dismount and maintain security. That's a standard operating procedure. And so when the ramp starts lowering, the whole back end of the vehicle is on fire, and we start screaming because fire is kind of coming in through the ramp lowering. And I have this very distinct moment where Sergeant Delgado jumped up. He was closest to the ramp, and he jumped up and pushed us back to kind of block the fire from entering the cabin. And he sustained probably some of the worst burns on the back of his neck and his ears out of all of us. And we ended up getting out of that, luckily alive, before the vehicle. I mean, a Bradley fighting vehicle has, I don't know, I was never mounted. I was always dismounted infantry, but I know 1,000 rounds of HE, 25 millimeter cannon under the floor is where the weapons, the linkage system is for the weapon, for the Bane gun. And, that thing was getting ready to cook off at any minute. You're going to get hit, and then you got to get out of the vehicle. And so we luckily were able to get out. Upon getting out, Had to run through a wall of burning JP8 diesel fuel. I sustained burns to my face. My watch melted into my wrist. And then we took contact. We were taking small arms fire. Unfortunately, we ended up being able to get out of there. And then, and, you know, got on a bird about 45 minutes later. All bird assets were pulled to a VBID that had gone off up in Samora. And so when we actually got to the Air Force Hospital, all the beds were full of Iraqi locals that had been blown up in this VBID. And there's no room at the end.
Yeah.
Kind of scenario. We were sitting on wooden chairs waiting for doctors to attend to us.
Skirts, spots, and some bullets, is that right?
I didn't get shot at that point. I returned to duty 3 weeks later, and then it was in July that I took a round through my shoulder in a gunfight. Yeah. Well, that's another story, man. If you got time, happy to share.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing that because there's a lot of soldiers that can't share.
Yeah.
They're not in I guess, a mental state where they feel comfortable sharing these things. And I think my soul, hurts more for the soldiers in pain, like that are probably the ones that can't share. They're in a place where they can't share those things. And I know they're hurting, and I'm like, there's nothing I can do for them. So I kind of have this, like, my heart aches for them, soldiers that are in a position, but I appreciate you being able to open up and share some of those experiences because, like I say, not everybody can.
Yeah. I think there's a real, I think there's a real clout in the a cloud in the veteran community that, and this is totally my experience, and so I'm not trying to invalidate anybody else's experience, but there's almost a expectation that we have to have this experience a certain way. And so, I have one deployment under my belt, 2 Purple Hearts. Obviously that's self-evident in and of itself that I've seen combat enough to be affected by it years later. But I've found that one, having a really strong family structure when you get back is imperative. And then 2, I really think, and I don't know the science behind this, but maybe there's a study out there. I really think some people just have a predisposition to be able to handle adversity really well. They have a resilience about them. And I've always had that my entire life, from my youth all the way through adulthood, through getting divorced, through starting and failing at a business and starting a new business. I've always had this resilience in built into who I am as a person. And memories and struggles and hard times of the past, they just haven't plagued me, man.
Yeah.
I feel very blessed by that. I also do think that there's like I was explaining, like a cloud in the veteran community that it's almost expected that we struggle with these things. So we sometimes create those struggles in our mind or amplify those struggles to an extent, when we don't have to be that person. You don't have to, That's my experience.
I have a few thoughts on it, and like you say, everyone has a different disposition. I see people with PTSD that nothing happened. I'm like, well, that's weird.
Yeah.
And it's the what if. How many of you in the audience have been like, oh, I got in a car accident, but I got to get back on the horse because I got to drive to work. I got to pick up kids. It's like, so some people can, get in a car accident and move on. In the military, you would be, you're kind of, I hate to use the word brainwashed, but conditioned that, head on a swivel. You can get in a car accident every day. Every day there's a car accident just waiting for you. It's like, so
Yeah.
your thought process is like,
It's hypervigilant.
yeah, it's on the top of your mind. That's like, today's the day to avoid the car accident. Like, you got to get through this, Just to put it in a civilian perspective, like I couldn't imagine waking up every day going, car accidents are happening every day.
Yeah.
So it's like it's festering there. And so the what if, I think, I don't say mentally breaks, but finds its way in and can grab hold. And then there's soldiers that have been and seen a lot, and they're like, you know what, a little bit of issues, but hey, life happens.
I think there's something to that. I think that's really good. The what if factor. I really like the way that you put that. And I find that prevalent with soldiers that have had intermittent experience of, like, let's say you're getting mortared on your base or whatnot, but you typically you're in a job role that doesn't leave the base very often versus like combat related soldiers, special operations, infantry, and those type who are constantly going out every single day on these combat missions. We develop a new baseline of what a threat is and what feels threatening. And so we have a much higher capacity for not feeling the heightened sense of fear, the heightened sense of stress, the heightened sense of those things that other people who don't exist at that new baseline on a regular basis, they just don't have that. Is a way for me to explain it. Like we lived our life for a year, every day running combat missions, every day coming under contact, every day encountering IEDs. And it became for me on deployment, I remember specifically where I kind of had like this flip switch or this switch flip in my body and in my mind where like whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And I'm just out here doing my job. And I no longer lived in fear. Like a round would crack over my head and sure I'd flinch, but it wasn't a life altering event. There's so many times that happened that it became a new norm for me, And so now back in this life, I have a much higher level of um, what's the word? A higher level of my baseline for what is stressful, my baseline for what causes fear, what causes anxiety, what creates stress and turmoil in my life is so elevated that I can operate on a very high functioning level most of the time and it doesn't really affect me. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So for me personally, like we're the pre-moment before we're going into Iraq, there's a little anxiety, the unknown, and I'd be like, First Sergeant, where are we staying at? He's like, don't worry about it. I was like, okay. I'm like, well, who's going to bring us food? He's like, don't worry about it. I'm like, you're not answering any of my like questions. Food, shelter, water. Like, we're just going in. He's like, there'll be someone there to take care of you. Okay, so we go in, but somewhere in that process, I think about the time I set foot on the C-130 and they're flying us in, um, I made a choice, and I don't. It's not the necessarily right or wrong choice. It's just a survival thing. I made a choice to feel nothing,
Yep.
and it didn't matter if I lived or died. I was like, it does not matter. It's just I took all emotion out of it. The cost of that is I was callous in the heart because I felt nothing. At the same time, I could perform or when mortars were dropping, I'd be like, if it gets me, it gets me.
Yep.
It did not matter, until it gets me and I feel pain. There's nothing that can stop me. I'm just going to do my thing. Um, and but so I remember jumping forward to coming back home. Um, I would feel some anxiety and panic in peace. So, like, I could like go to church and there'd be a baby crying, and I'd be like, I got to get out of here. This is like the worst thing you could do to me right now is torture me with this child crying. Nothing's happening. Some baby's crying, whatever. And I'd just be like, oh my gosh, I got to get out of here. So I go take a walk. I'm like, it's not helping. I'll do this, not helping. Um, and I think the American Sniper guy talks about it kind of. I wired myself backwards, and I was like, okay, just be aware of it. And it took several years for things to kind of adjust. I mean, I still don't like little children crying for some reason. Like, it's like causes whatever. But when the chaos hits, you're like, yeah, I can like. I guess it allows you to focus or see things in a new way. Or oh, there's chaos, and some people thrive in chaos.
I definitely do. There's a piece in it for me.
Yeah, there's like they so my theory is you have 100 soldiers or 100%, however you want to look at this. 80% of soldiers are just targets. 10% shouldn't even be there. 9% are good warriors, and like one guy's like the Rambo who gets you home. So, so the people that are actually like thrive in it. I mean, you're only talking like this 9-10% of the people in there. 1% of the people can actually chill and feel okay about it. Everyone else um, isn't designed, and we're not designed to do that. So your sheepdogs in the world is like 1% that can execute and be like, eh, this was a situation. I don't feel guilt, and move on. And it's kind of phenomenal because I I noticed a lot of soldiers, the young soldiers, they're like trigger happy, and I was like, step off that pedal for a minute because there's a cost, and I don't think you're that 1%. I remember, um, you know, some of these cool jocks that are athletic, talking a lot of smack. When things got hard or hot, to watch them buckle. And I was like, man, you sounded like you'd be a hero. But now, I mean, not that they're not, but and it always surprised me who
Top performers were.
the top performers were. I mean, always like you just don't know until the fire's burning to see who just thrives in it or who just is like, I've got to step up. Um, and I've seen it a couple times in my life, and like I get emotional about it because I really honor people that have that, and I strive to be like that. Um, it's anyway, it's always amazed me, and it's never the cool guy. And do you have any experiences? I mean, you've seen some of that. Who are a couple of the heroes in your life?
Yeah, yeah. It's a great question. I can definitely resonate with that in an aspect. My first squad leader when I was in Iraq, his name was Staff Sergeant LaPoole, and he was by what's that saying in a profession where young men die, look out for the guy who's old, or something like that, right?
Yeah.
This guy's like mid 40s, been in the infantry. He's an E6, but he's been in the infantry for almost 20 years, and fought in the first, second battle of Fallujah, fought in Sadr City, been part of the invasion forces into Iraq in 2003, in March of 2003, with 1st Infantry Division. Been all over the place, right? This guy, there was a calm and collectiveness about him that I think really helped me settle into my deployment because I felt like when I was in his presence, I was untouchable. That this guy was a god amongst men when it came to war. He was the most calm spoken, the most peaceful spoken, but when it came time to get down to business, he always did it in a calm, collected manner. And I have this picture, just, he was in that Bradley with me that I told you about when it was burning. And I remember I was sitting across from him. And I remember when we lowered ramp and the flames came in and we raised ramp. And the only way out is through the top hatch, through the back door, right? The ramp in the back. And I remember looking across at him and seeing in his eyes complete calm. We're sitting in a vehicle full of high explosive 25 millimeter rounds. I got a backpack with grenades. We got multiple AT-4 rocket launchers in the bench behind us. I got 3 days worth of munitions in my assault pack, grenades, white phosphorus, like everything. And I remember looking across at him and just thinking, dang, this guy's just like in peace right now. And I think he had that what do you call it, like that 9% that you mentioned. He was one of the ones that, and I think I picked up on that from him, and I was able to almost enter into this place in my deployment where I the fear of death didn't plague me, the fear of unknown didn't plague me. Like I was just there to do my daily job, and I really came to terms with whatever was going to happen was going to happen. And there's this funny scene in this movie called Lucky Number 11. Have you seen that movie? It's old. And he goes, "Yeah, I suffer from ataraxia." And they go, "What's ataraxia?" He says, "It's a condition freedom or custom. It's a freedom. It's a condition characterized by complete freedom from worry or care. Just like this, what's going to happen is going to happen."
Just
And
living in the moment.
Living in the moment. And we can be intentional about building, but the shit that happens, the negative stuff that happens in our life, the potential for bad, the potential to get shot on a rooftop, the potential to get blown up, the potential to die in a car wreck here in the stateside. There's so little in life that we have control over.
Yeah.
Why let it wreak havoc on you? You know? So that's kind of what I live my life by. It's just there's a lot of things I could struggle with. There's a lot of things I have the right to struggle with. But I'm going to be a good father. I'm going to be a good husband. I'm going to be a good community member. And I'm going to serve my country where I can. I'm going to build a life for myself. And one thing coming back out of getting out of the service, looking back now, it's been over 15 years since I got out. And the first 3 years that I got out, I look back at the things that I quote unquote struggled with. And at this point in my life, I can't determine whether I struggled with those things because some doctor told me I was supposed to struggle with those things, or if I was actually genuinely having a struggle, or if just the whole precipice of veterans coming back from war were supposed to be this way. And I needed to, like, subconsciously needed to fit the narrative, and then there was a point in about 2014 where, like, I just was like, dude, I am done living this identity as, like, the wounded veteran, as the guy who has PTSD, as the guy who, like, doesn't like the water balloon popping at the fair from the clown gun thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just done. I'm not going to be that person anymore. And I turned it off. And I've just gone about living my life.
Yeah. So I'm guilty of that or a piece of that. So I remember in a conversation, if the opportunity came up, I would identify or say like, "Oh, I broke my back in Iraq." Like I was identifying with this injury.
Yeah.
And I had to take a time out on that and go, why am I like identifying with this? It's one incident that happened, and yeah, it's like something I got to live with every day. But it's like I'm like I'm doing more with this injury than most people are. I'm like I can do a burpee. Like, it might not be fun in split second here and there, but I was like I can still do burpees. At the gym, I do leg press. I don't do squats, like, because I don't want that pressure on my spine or whatever. But I was identifying with it and making it part of my identity. And I had to take a moment to be like, stop, enough.
Yep.
If I share it, I choose to share it, but this is not who I am. I'm so much more than that.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. I've even taken it to the point, like, and this isn't something I say because I'm not proud of my service or my country, but like I go to a hockey game and they say, "Can we have all the veterans stand up?" I just don't stand up because, like, that part of my identity is so far removed from who I am today. 15 years later, I'm so much more than the guy that got shot on a rooftop in July of 2007 in Iraq. And for years, I think I lived on that wave. I rode the wave subconsciously, unconsciously, looked for reasons to be the victim of circumstances, looked for shortcuts in life, looked for opportunity because of my experiences that qualified for me for those things. And I think I really held myself back from things I could accomplish in those first few years of getting out because I bought into the narrative that I needed to be this wounded veteran who had struggles.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to invalidate. I really want to say I know there's a lot of people that do struggle, and it's not as simple as turning a switch on or off. That worked for me, and that doesn't invalidate that other people who aren't able to do that have real struggles. So I just want to put that out there. I'm not saying it's a one-stop shop for everyone and everybody needs to act like me or not struggle like me, So your struggles out there, if you're listening to this and you're a veteran, you have these struggles even years later, decades later, it's very real, it's very valid, but there's hope.
Yeah, everybody deals with it differently.
Absolutely.
Everybody. If you're military hypochondriac, yeah, you're gonna have problems for a long time. Yeah. And that's just if you're conditioned that way, you're conditioned that way. I kind of I'm naturally kind of a forgetful person. Like, I don't have nightmares. I don't have, every day I wake up, it's like, I feel like I'm that 5 second, 10 second time. Hey, I'm Rick.
Yeah.
Like I naturally don't remember people's names very well. I kind of like yesterday was yesterday and today's a new day. So I don't carry a lot of my past emotions with me. And I think that is definitely an advantage if you're going to go through some shocking things to be
Yes.
kind of like, I don't even know what happened yesterday. It kind of allows me to move forward. And I'm very forward moving, like,
Yeah.
and I don't look at in the past. But I mean, that's just me.
Yeah.
But I know other people are very, very, we all deal with emotions differently. We all make the meaning. I mean, you have a lot of people that go through see the same thing. You know, how many guys on the Bradley were with you when the thing was burning, and you got what 8 guys crammed back there, and if you went and asked them, the meaning they made it mean afterwards, each of them would have a different meaning, even though it's the exact same event that happened. Yeah. But
Yeah, something to add to that, I'll give an example. In our deployment, we had, gosh, I don't know, over 25 wounded in action. Actually, our company was deemed combat ineffective at one point because we had too many injuries in a short period. The spring of 2007 was terrible in Iraq. And just constant fighting. And but post-war, we got back from Iraq in 2007. So what is that? 19 years now. In that time period, we've had over 15 who've taken their own life post-war. And I think about that and I look at that and I think to myself, I went through the same things as each one of these people went through. I deployed with them. We went on the same combat missions. I rode in the Bradleys. I used Zodiac River boats on the Tigris River. We did air assault missions. We took contact. We fought bad guys. We cleared houses. We cleared alleys. We went black on ammo. All these experiences that we've had. And I've looked at the distinguishing factors between their post-war journey and my post-war journey. And other than the potential for some type of genetic thing that allows people to overcome things easily and have resilience, the one thing that I look at that I find commonality with amongst veterans who end up ultimately becoming a part of the 22 is that they did not have a support structure coming home. Their wife either left them or they weren't married. They didn't come from a solid family that had their back or had come from a broken home or something like that, which ultimately led them into, alcoholism or drug abuse or not finding purpose and mission in life. I ended up having a son shortly after my deployment. And when I saw that little boy's brown eyes, man, I fell in love and I knew I was going to be the best damn man I could be. And I wasn't going to let anything make me be anything less than what I could be for that boy. Now he's 17 years old, and so all that to say, post-war, looking back, that being there for your veterans, being there for the people that have served in these deployments and have served overseas and served our country, having a support structure is the number one thing that you can do for them. Have a beer with them, ask them how their day's going, include them in things, make them feel like they matter, but also help them find identity outside of the struggle that they overcame during the process of overcoming. Because to stay in that identity, to stay rooted in that identity, you become that and just festers over time.
You mentioned support structure probably 3 times.
It's huge to me. It's very important to me.
It's huge. And I think this last time, I think I was like, that's the home run hit right there. I'm in a unique position with Rick's that I get random phone calls from people, and they're veterans, and they're like, "Hey, I heard you were a veteran," and I'm like, "Hello, who is this?" And they're like, and they start talking, and one gentleman, he was like, "I had, the past month, I've had 2 friends take their life," and he's like, "I'm at the bottom." He's like, "I don't know what to do," and that night we had a comedy show here at Rick's. I said, "Why don't you come down to Rick's? Comedy show's on me. I'm like, I can't, we all have to walk the path alone. Your community, the infrastructure buys you time and a distraction to gives you time to process. Um, so, your best friends, your support group, whatever, they distract you, they buy you time. But at the end of the day, when the lights go out, you can be in a crowded room with thousands of people. You may still feel alone, but the journey is alone. But allow your friends and your support group to distract you a little bit, buy you
Yeah.
time to process. Um,
Yeah, the second component that I would throw into that on top of a support structure is so much of our time in service is mission focused, having a sense of purpose and having a sense of mission. And to take somebody out of that element and stick them in an environment where they're now getting 100% from the VA, they don't have to work because they're making good money, leaves them in a place where they feel like they don't or they don't know what their purpose is. And I struggled with that for a long time. And this isn't just veteran based, this is man based. As men, we have to have mission. We have to have purpose and we have to have meaning in things. And to not find a place post, specifically talking about veterans where you fit in, where you find something that you are passionate about, that you are good at, and pursue that with purpose and mission and direction is this one of the things that also will absolutely hold you back from becoming the best version of yourself. Continuing to ride the wave of being broken or injured or wounded or struggling in the PTSD mindset and that whole snowball that we can easily get into, you have to absolutely, if you don't have the family structure, you're not a lost cause. Find a mission, find a purpose, find meaning. And to do those things will give you an ultimate sense of direction in life that will pull you out of the mire, pull you out of the muck, and give you a sense of having reason in it all.
Excellent. Yeah, that's having purpose, having mission.
And it can be
structure.
It can be as simple as my mission for the first 5 years was be a good father, and that's it. I didn't know what I wanted to do for work. I didn't know anything. I just wanted to be a good father, and that in and of itself made all the difference for me. So it can be something super small, it can be something big, it can be a huge dream, it can be a small daily task that find a sense of purpose.
We should just wrap the show up on that. Man, it's like, man,
It's an hour, so
yeah. I mean, like I say, you still have to walk the path alone because it's you. You have to decide, where you are in life, what your purpose is. You have to decide that. You have to decide who's in your family, um, your support group, who you want in, who you want out, or maybe you're starting over. You're at rock bottom and you're like, well, I might as well be a rock collector because I'm at rock bottom, and set up your little rock group and talk to them. um, but we are all going through different phases. I kind of make the assumption that 60% of the people you come in contact with are having a hard time. And we all put a smile on and say, I'm fine, life's good. But I bet 60% are having a hard time, regardless of the face that you're wearing. So we tried to be compassionate with you. And unless you tell us, we have no idea. Like, how is anyone supposed to know that you're having a hard time if you don't say anything? Um, the people that call me randomly, they're kind of saying it. I'm having a hard time, or hey, 2 friends died. I don't know what to do. I mean, they're saying it in a way, and I was like, I guess they're only calling me because I guess in a sense this person didn't have a support group. Um, his family's a different culture, and they weren't happy that he joined the military, so he's kind of rejected by his own tribe. You know, and in a moment of not having anybody, he was like, there's got to be a veteran out there. I hear this guy is a veteran, has this place, and he just reached out. But I mean, at least he did, fed him. He came around for a little bit, helped set up tables and chairs. I kind of, you know, yeah, he had other demons and stuff he's dealing with, but it's like, you know, can I can I help you out and buy you time process? Can I guess be a piece of that support group? Um, but yeah, I don't know. But yeah, if you have a problem, yeah, find community. You get to express it your own way. No one's going to force you to.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, we'll wrap this show up, folks. I didn't know how this podcast would go, but it was kind of interesting. I appreciate you sharing some of your adventures with us. That's pretty amazing. Uh, yeah, what I did was much more low key than that. Still some excitement, but you had a lot more excitement going on. Um,
It's all
but
pieces of the same pie.
yeah, but it's neat to see, someone that has seen a lot and how you've handled it, the mental choices you've made, to be like, hey, I have a great life. That the crazy aspects don't haunt me, like if they ever did, I don't know if they did or not. But when we lose some people, it is heartbreaking. You know, um, the ones living kind of we bear the heartache in some of our battles to the derby, I guess, if that's a nice way to say it. But like I said, if you need a support group, and it doesn't matter if you're in the military or not, reach out to us. You know, uh, I listen to a lot of people. I mean, having a bar, I'm a counselor. In a weird way, we talk to a lot of people, um, and not that you have to drink either. I don't drink, but I sit there and listen to you. Get you a meal and make sure you're doing okay. And for Veterans Day, we're offering free meals at Rick's. And that all kind of partly because I'm a veteran and partly because my father in his 80s, he died at 96, really, really enjoyed that. And, and so I kind of do it, I think, because of probably more so his memory of it than just being a veteran. So, um, anyway, John Lockard, thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Um, the 2.5 veterans we have here today. This time we'll pick on the Navy. Yeah, that doesn't count. All right. I'm Rick, your host. Thanks for joining us. I'm signing out.